report from Scott, who's going to just follow on and talk a bit more about Hutton Roof.
Yeah, so thank you, everyone. So yeah, very much following on what Ezra's doing, all the questions it kind of poses for us as land managers of how quickly have we got to intervene? Do we need to intervene? Are there certain priorities that we should be looking at, and what are the results actually going to be for us? So for those who aren't familiar with the area, I've kind of zoomed in here on Hutton Roof and Fulton Knott areas. So the blue line is the special area of conservation designation. So this is that part of Morecambe Bay pavements. And then a few, which has weirdly changed all my boxes, but names all over there. But the red areas are what is managed by Cumbria Wildlife Trust. So those are my sites. So we've got a big area of Hutton Roof, also Park Wood, and then the areas around Holm Park Quarry and Clawthorpe Fell. And Hutton Roof itself, as you've seen on some of the photographs, we've got big, relatively open areas of pavement. We've got lots of areas of wooded pavement. And then mixed in between, we've got these areas of grasslands, kind of calcareous grassland, acidic grassland, big bracken beds, developing scrub. So it's a real mosaic of different habitats to kind of challenge the management and really work out what the priorities are for the site and what we actually want to do. Historically, it was a really good place for high brown fritillaries, which, 5-10 years time, will they even occur in Morecambe Bay at all anymore? They've pretty much been lost from this area. There's a few believed to be down still at Holmeston pastures, but over at Arnside in the distance, pretty much depleted there as well. And then the floristic interest as well. So really good colony of dark red helleborines up on Hutton Roof. So all these questions of how do we manage the habitat, what priorities have we got, and what techniques actually work, we haven't really got that evidence base as we have for other habitats. So similar sort of view as to Ezra was showing us earlier, the pavements on Hutton Roof. So one of the really big areas of pavements up towards the edge of Dalton Crags, other areas scattered across the area of photograph there. And you can kind of see we've got what is sort of fragmentation. We've got pockets of open pavements which are developing as that wooded and scrubby vegetation started to move in. So with the volunteers, a couple of which are here today, over the last couple of years, we've actually started to try and reconnect some of these fragmented pockets, but very much with the question of, will that work? Once it's got to a level of scrubbiness, will you ever get those species back in? So when Ezra's PhD started to look at answering those questions, it's going to give us that brilliant evidence base that we can then potentially replicate on a bigger scale. So we've still got these isolated pockets, and in between them, these vegetation blocks, which are starting to kind of develop and really cut off the communities. If we remove these barriers, which I kind of call curtains, which are also forming through new areas, can we reconnect pavements and areas that we've removed the vegetation, recover back to open pavement? Is that what we actually need? Do we need an element of scrub? This was one that we did most recently in February, I think it was. We were joined by the National Trust as well. So 25 of us out on the pavement, taking out all of this area. So we've got a big area of open pavement distance, an area of open pavement behind the camera, but this what I call a curtain. So like the vegetation has been pulled across and separated them off. And then by the time we've been in there, it's completely opened up. But once the trees are gone, you can really see the moss covers, there's an area, the other bits of bramble and things coming in that are starting to then colonize underneath the trees. So for us, some of the challenges we've got is the physical manpower. Some habitats you can send a contractor in. Once you've got some funding, they can go in machinery, knock a habitat about and do some restoration. For us here, pretty much everything's got to be done by hand. So without the volunteers, we couldn't do anywhere near as much as we do. So they've helped with Ezra's studies, they've helped with some of the other habitat management we've done around the site. So just a really big thank you to them for their help. And there's only so much they could do. As I say, we are limited on the tools that we've got, the access that we've got. Once we've cut, the vegetation back, what do we do with it? Where do we put it? How do we process it? There's also invasive species that we have to deal with as well. So loads of Cotoneaster up on Holmpark Fell, Clawthorpe, and this area at Hutton Roof. Every time we go out, we seem to find more and more and more. And grazing, obviously, one of the big ones that was reintroduced to Hutton Roof many years ago now. And we really do see the impact of it, but perhaps one of the new questions is how much of an impact is it having? How important is it? If you go across the road to Fulton Knott, where I think was really heavily sheep grazed, there's almost no scrub by comparison. And it's also being allowed to kind of come up a little bit. Hutton Roof, very, very, very scrubby. The cattle doing a fantastic job. So one of the new things we're looking at is trying to quantify what impact grazing and browsing has on the pavement. Once we've been in, cleared that area back of mature, well, semi-mature hazels and sycamores, does grazing then help us maintain that, or do we have to go back in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, and do it all again? So what kind of management tools have we got? So here you can see a hazel that we chopped down a couple of years ago. Most of it is split off. The deer have been browsing on it, cattle have been browsing on it. And some of the stools after 3 years, they're only a few inches tall. So it's a real asset to have up on this habitat, but it's a very challenging habitat for those farmers and graziers that we've got as well. Just a bit more closer of the tips that have been eaten off. So we've just set up a new study with Isaac, which Carly's helping with as well. So we've actually excluded deer and cattle from small plots on this area of pavement that we cleared with the National Trust, so that we've got a way of kind of documenting how much deer browsing and cattle browsing pressure there is on the pavement once we've been in versus what is actually going to happen if that grazing pressure wasn't there. So this is a study that's going to run for the next 5 years, so we can also look at how perhaps plant communities change and moss cover and some of other perhaps invasive species that might want to move in. But yeah, just a really quick run through of things that we're doing, kind of how Ezra's study is going to have a massive impact, certainly for us, on understanding how better to manage this habitat, but lots more questions in the future. So hopefully next year, putting on spot, Isaac will do a talk here on this one.
That'd be great. Quick question for Scott. Anyone else? Yeah.
Use chemicals at all?
Not on Hutton Roof, so it's organic. So, but on other areas, we have used it for the cotoneaster. So, yeah, the work the volunteers are doing is coppicing it down to a stool and then trying to actually dig it out. Some of it we just had to mark so we can keep coppicing it and stop it getting into a burying stage. But yeah, it is a challenge. They're not something we want to use, but in some places it might actually be the only option to really control things.
Is burning as a technique of getting rid of all the brush that you end up
Yeah.
with? Is it for what, or are you having to rein volunteers back who are desperate for a fire?
Then we're always looking at bonfire. Yeah, it depends on very much the situation. So some of the scrub we have managed to burn. So we've got safe areas where we can put some tins out and have the fire. But some areas, even just here, you know, carrying a bundle full of hazel off the pavement is quite a challenge as it is. Then once you've got off the pavement, you've still got quite nice areas of grassland or, you know, other communities that you don't want to dump a load of material on. But then we can't necessarily burn everything. So it's a real challenge in working out what's best. So I tend to find the nearest yew tree that's off on the grassland because virtually nothing grows underneath the yew tree. So they're really good kind of sacrificial sites for that brash where we can't burn it. But we don't want to leave it on pavement, otherwise it just becomes that sort of place where brambles can get established or bracken can get established. Defeat what we're trying to do.
Okay, thanks very much.